I'm going to talk today about writing strategies. Let me just get to the beginning here of my presentation. Two exam strategies to boost your exam scores in writing and speaking. And so I'm going to get started. I realize we don't have a lot of people, but that's fine. We are going to start with an introduction. And I want to talk just a few minutes about types of writing, types of strategies and hacks, but two exams that they either apply to teachers or to students. And so I'm going to focus today mainly on student hacks. And so we'll just move forward here to what is a hack? A hack is a strategy or shortcut that allows you to improve faster than normally would. Sorry, I'm getting cut off a bit. So if you didn't catch that, it's to improve your score faster than you normally would. So that's a hack, and we're going to look at a few today. Now, just a comparison between hacks and best practices. A lot of your teachers will tell you about best practices, which they should, because best practices are things you should do long term, that you should know. These are the practices that you want to do day in and day out. A hack, by contrast, let me just shut off the comments here. A hack, by contrast, is shorter term, and it allows you, not many people know about it, so it allows you maybe to cheat the system, and that's what we're going to try to do today, is cheat the system in these hacks. So I'm going to talk about two of them. The aim of a hack is either to impress the examiner with something very special, or you impress them because it's novel. Novel means new. And the goal of these hacks, of course, is to produce higher results in speaking or writing. So, if you're going to do a hack successfully, you probably have to have at least an intermediate level or higher if you're going to be successful on these. And what I'm going to focus on today is hacks or strategies that have a dramatic or interesting or creative opening. That's what we're interested in. So let's take a look at the first hack, which is opposites. So I'm going to talk about how first of all, before we do that, I should tell you that these hacks work on many different exams, international exams such as the IELTS or the TOEFL or the FCE or CAE, also university and school exams. You can have hacks. The ideas I'm going to talk about today work on all of these exams, because what we're going to do is we're going to try to impress the examiner, either at school, university, or international exam. We're going to try to impress them at the very opening. Because my experience suggests that examiners, because I've been an examiner, your first impression is often the strongest. And so if you have a good first impression, it often stays or remains till the very end. All right, let's take a look here at one hack. We're going to look at opposites. Opposites are just as they say, opposites. And in this case, private and public are opposites. So here's a question that you might encounter on one of these international exams. Do you agree smoking should be banned in public places? Now, what I've done, and what sometimes I suggest to students to have an interesting opening, is to play around with the word public. This obviously has a natural counterpart. Counterpart is an opposite with private. And so now we have an interesting play of words, public and private, and we can create some pretty interesting introductions. I give you one here. Private decisions, this is the first sentence. Private decisions about whether to smoke or not are now a public matter. And I'm getting some water. And now this is really interesting because you're playing with private and public, and the reader or the examiner will appreciate this because it's interesting. And it's something that very few students do, but it's not difficult to do. So what's the hack? The hack or the strategy here is the effect, impressive wordplay in the opening sentence. That's what we're interested in. I want to try an advanced hack here. This is an advanced opposite. So I've looked at public and private, but now what we're going to do, we're going to look at the same question, and now we're going to look at concepts rather than just specific details, public, private. So do you agree smoking should be banned? Now I'm going to focus on banned as the more advanced concept. In public places, banned means prohibited, not allowed. So now we have a question of freedom. The question, this question is about the concept of freedom. Should we ban or not allow smoking in public? And so watch how we play with the word freedom, because now we can look at opposites here. The freedom to smoke wherever one wants or desires imprisons the passive smoker. That's an interesting first sentence, and I play with opposites, freedom and imprisonment. If you're in prison, you don't have freedom. If you're in prison or imprisoned, then you don't have freedom. And so I'm playing with these opposites here, and it makes for a really interesting first sentence that no one else is writing, because we're not teaching these, which is why they're hacks. They're interesting, and they will almost inevitably be judged favorably, because anytime you can play with words in an international exam, it's going to be something special. So this is an advanced way of doing this concept, because we're taking concepts as opposed to actual sort of objects. Public and private is the intermediate hack or opposite, and then banned, which is this notion of freedom. This is a more advanced concept because we're dealing with sort of metadata. We're dealing with larger concepts. And so this becomes very interesting. Now, if you have any questions along the way, you can ask, of course, in the box. Just click the box and you can ask. All right, I'm going to show you a second hack. A second hack is sayings. Now, this is a little bit more complicated, but not so much. It involves memorizing one or two famous proverbs or sayings in the US, or in English, sorry, and then using them to answer questions, but using them at the beginning of sentences. This is really interesting. So, what's the idea? Since many international and national exams ask you to agree or disagree, we are going to learn a few related sayings to the concept of agreement. And then we're going to use them in the introduction. Are you ready? Let's begin. So, here are two sayings that I would suggest we memorize. They're not easy. They're not difficult to memorize. It just takes a few minutes, repeating them a few times. Good decisions come from experience, and experience comes from bad decisions. This is a saying in English. Another saying, again, we want to relate it to agree and disagree. The hardest decisions in life are not between good and bad or right and wrong, but between two goods and two rights. In other words, we'd use this when the choices are both good, mainly good, not bad. So when it's a difficult decision, because they're both similarly good, then we would use number two. If it's a general case, we could use number one. So I'm going to give you two examples of how we can use this, and you can see how you can stand out amongst all test takers by employing a creative first sentence. Remember, first impressions matter. They hold in the examiner's mind a long time. So if you want to create a positive impression, this is a great way to do it. Because another thing that sets you out is if you do something unique or unusual. This will almost always merit higher scores. So let me give you the questions in blue, and then the suggestion is in black. So let's take a look. I've got my computer here. I'm going to actually just read it because it's a little bit bigger. The words are bigger. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? The teacher's ability to relate well with students is more important than excellent knowledge of the subject being taught. Now, this is a case, remember, of two goods. So I'm going to use the second example that I was talking about. So here's how I would start this to really try to impress the examiner or impress my teacher. There's an English saying that is appropriate here. The hardest decisions in life are not between good and bad or right and wrong, but between two goods and two rights. Obviously, as a teacher, you want to relate with students and be knowledgeable about the subject. But if I had to choose, I would select this. So that's a great introduction because it's appropriate. And this is the hack. We've memorized two phrases that you can use that are appropriate for any sort of decision-making essay. Now, this can be written or spoken. You can have it memorized. This will really impress this if you can use this in a speaking exam. Again, these aren't long, but they almost always relate, especially if you have a minute or two to think about it. If you don't have a lot of time to think, then maybe it's risky to try this with speaking. But if you have a minute, then you can obviously prepare yourself for it. So, does everyone see how we did this? If you have a question, you're welcome to ask. And let me give you a second example. I'll just take the question earlier. Do you agree smoking should be banned in public places? And again, similar sort of intro. There's an English saying that is apt here. Apt is appropriate in this context. That is apt here. Good decisions come from experience, and experience comes from bad decisions. In my experience, so I tie in now the saying, my experience, and then the answer. In my experience, banning things you don't like creates a bigger interest or demand. Therefore, I would not support da 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 da. That's a super creative introduction that doesn't have to take long to put together because we've already memorized the saying, which it's okay because sayings and proverbs are meant to be memorized in English. So the fact that you've memorized a saying or a proverb is not a bad thing because that's how they're spread. Proverbs are spread orally. They're rarely written down. Well, they're written down in the internet, but normally, prior to that, they were spread by word of mouth. That's how they came to us. They're so old we don't remember who first mentioned them. So it's not uncommon to remember them because that's how they were passed down to our generation. So if someone would ask you, well, how do you know that? You just say, well, Proverbs are rather well known. So I like this one and I remembered it. Easy answer. And we call this a great alibi. Alibi is an excuse, but a good excuse. A-L-I-B-I, alibi. All right, and I want to just pause it. Pause it means to give. I want to posit one final thought. You are this approach with the sayings or proverbs and integrating it in your essay is really helpful when you get to university, because when you take my class at university, if you're taking my writing class at MGMO, you know that you have to use sources and integrate it into your essays and into your writing, or we also give speeches. So this is great cross-training in how to integrate sources, and sources are other people's ideas, into your own thoughts. And so this is a really good way to start to build or train skills that you will definitely need at university, and then later when you want to make a report or say anything significant. Anything significant has to have sources other than yourself, because we're not that smart. We don't know everything. We need to draw on the resources of other people. And we have to be good. If we're good at using other sources, we'll be then we'll be very good at sort of tying these in and presenting one coherent idea. All right. If there are any questions, this is rather short because I thought there might be a few more questions, but that's fine. If there are any questions, you can let me know, because in fact, I'm almost finished. You can see here my Instagram. I'm not only a professor at MGIMO. By the way, I'm American. For some of you who don't know me, I grew up in America. I studied at Oxford and Cambridge, so my accent is a little bit mixed. Some people would say confused. So people don't talk like this in Nebraska, where I'm from, but because I spent 5 years in England in these specific universities, my accent invariably changed. And so I'm in Moscow now 2 years teaching as a professor of history and writing at MGIMO, and also I'm doing Instagram English language videos, which if you haven't seen them, they're interesting. They will require you to think, and that is what I think all good videos or educational content should ask of the student or the viewer, to require you to think. Because when we're thinking, we're concentrating, and when we're thinking and concentrating, we are learning. And that's it. So if there are any questions, you can ask anything. I will stay on for a minute or two, but I want to say thank you for your attention. It's a Friday night. I know it's COVID time, but still you could be doing a lot of different things on a Friday night, and you have decided to join me. So thank you for that. That's very kind. If there are any questions, you can ask them. Otherwise, we will. All right. Well, thank you all for a very good meeting, and hope to see you around. If you have any questions after this, you're welcome to contact me on my account at chris.corton. You can find me, and we will continue this conversation. Have a good evening and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.